On this episode of Making Energy, we unveil Louisiana's innovative energy landscape, from carbon advancements and hydrogen initiatives to the groundbreaking Cajun Coral technology, all working together to balance energy developments with coastal restoration.
We've also started to see that these new and emerging energy sectors can directly support our traditional oil and gas sectors.
With that particular exoform, we're able to turn 1 square foot of seafloor into almost 5 square feet of benthic habitat.
On this episode of Making Energy, Louisiana's commitment to balancing energy development with coastal restoration, paving the way for a sustainable future.
Joining us on Making Energy is Tyler Ortego, General Manager of Coastal Solutions for Natrx. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, if you haven't heard of Natrx, search these two words, Cajun Coral. It's one of Natrx's exoform modules that's being used to build artificial reefs along Louisiana's shoreline. With this technology, Natrx is reducing erosion, reviving fisheries, and protecting billions of dollars in energy infrastructure in Louisiana. So, Tyler, explain how these modules, nicknamed Cajun Coral, work and how they're designed to benefit both the environment and industry.
Natrx was created to help communities live in harmony with nature. And we do that by building infrastructure in a nature positive way. And one of our core technologies is called dry forming. So it's a totally new way of forming concrete. And with dry forming, we're able to get these very naturalistic, almost randomized shapes that are really compatible with nature. So like the Cajun coral, they got that nickname because they look like corals. What we're doing with our artificial reefs is we're creating surface area for things like oysters and barnacles and other, the foundation of the coastal ecosystem, so that your larger fish and your sport fish are attracted to that, and it becomes an asset. And so with that particular exoform, we're able to turn 1 square foot of seafloor into almost 5 square feet of benthic habitat.
This is smart technology. Natrx is monitoring these things from space with satellites and up close with on-site assessments. As you watch these modules grow over time, describe how they go from these hunks of concrete and become a living part of Louisiana's coast.
If it's a shoreline protection project, we're going to design it for the particular waves and the water levels at that site. If it's a coastal reef, we're looking more just at the organisms. We design it, we print it at our Center of Excellence in Amelia, Louisiana. They get on barges, direct to water there, and go out to the site. Installation is super fast. So if you're used to working with riprap sheet piles or whatever else, in a lot of cases we're able to do, hundreds of feet of shoreline in a day, or, acres of reef. They go down in the water. Oysters spawn in the warmer months, so they're probably larvae waiting to find something to attach to. Those larvae look like little grains of sand. They at first attach within a week or so. They're about the size of a dime or within a quarter, and then grow out over the year. And then by the next year, a new generation settles on top of that. And that's how a dry form, exoform module turns into a living reef.
Through strategic partnerships with energy companies like Danos and Shell, Natrx is bringing these environmental and economic investments to coastal communities. Was getting the industry's buy-in a challenge at all for Natrx?
Oil and gas is a major industry here, and also a major user of our entire coastal system. If we're able to work with oil and gas, we're able to make a big impact. And there was a challenge, and it was solved through partnerships. Our first customer is Ducks Unlimited, and they have an ongoing partnership with ConocoPhillips for their expansive lands in the coast. And we've been able to, through those relationships, sort of keep going over and over again. And then likewise with CCA, the Coastal Conservation Association, we have our partnership with Danos, which is a historically third-generation oil and gas services company. They struck up a great relationship with CCA, and now we just built our fourth reef together, and we're looking at many more in the coming years.
Louisiana's energy industry is expanding, and Natrx is an important part of that. Can you provide examples of other successful projects or strategies where traditional oil and gas operations are benefiting from energy innovation and advanced technology? What synergies are you seeing?
Our big strategic goal for Louisiana is to keep our flagship Resilience Center of Excellence in Amelia running full-time, all the time, into the foreseeable future. We're going to do that when oil and gas and the new energy folks and the ports and state and local governments and our conservation groups, if they share our vision for nature positive infrastructure and a robust and healthy coast, to welcome us into their planning processes and start looking at how we can work together. When you work with Natrx, we can help develop those plans and prioritize and figure out the best solutions to give some long-term resilience to those assets, and doing it in a way that's providing value to the natural ecosystem and to our communities.
You mentioned CCA and Ducks Unlimited. How does Natrx measure the impact of its projects on a local ecosystem? And are there any recent examples where Natrx has significantly contributed to coastal restoration or protection?
Great question. For our recent reef for CCA, we've got almost 10,000 square feet of surface area. When that reef is mature, 100,000 or more oysters in there, filtering millions of gallons of water every year and providing all kinds of habitat for your other species. The success of those reefs is really going to be measured, by the sport fishing activity and by people showing up and saying, hey, this worked, this is great, can we do it again? We have supported levee districts to help increase resilience of communities through our partnerships with Ducks Unlimited. They're gotten really good at these terrace projects where they're building sort of linear marsh features, which we can then armor. And so those are providing all kinds of wetland habitat. The space between them provides duck habitat. Then our living shorelines on the fringes are providing oysters and fisheries habitat. And those in themselves are protecting infrastructure.
All right, Tyler Ortego, General Manager of Coastal Solutions for Natrx. Thank you for joining us on Making Energy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Energy innovations like the ones we just heard about Natrx developing do not happen by accident. They require strategies to go from good idea to game changer. State initiatives and smart partnerships are meant to foster development, especially in key industries like energy. We turn now to Louisiana economic development to talk about three things: expanding energy opportunities by supporting existing industries, how Louisiana is emerging as an energy innovator, and what the state is doing to maximize energy's economic impact, how these ideas, innovations, and industries complement each other to build a stronger, more resilient, and secure energy supply that starts in Louisiana and fuels the world. Joining us on Making Energy to tackle these topics is Jason Lanclos, Director of Energy Development and Planning with Louisiana Economic Development, a joint position with the Louisiana Department of Energy and Natural Resources. Welcome.
Good morning.
You're in a new role now, and we have a new department agency with the Department of Energy and Natural Resources. Can you tell us about the government's new approach to energy and business?
It's a very exciting time to be involved in energy. And so I've spent probably about 6 years at our Department of Energy and Natural Resources. What I was finding is that, I would talk to companies, but I was not able to follow them through just those next phases of business development and, where they were going, how the tax incentives were working, and whether or not those projects actually came to fruition. And so through the leadership of Secretary Tyler Gray and Secretary Susan Bourgeois, they went to the governor and really proposed a new approach for how we did energy. And that led to me being put in our Louisiana Economic Development office, and I am thrilled to be there. It gives me such an opportunity to work with some amazing folks that has very, very strong business ties. They understand how the Louisiana economy works. And my boss, Paige, talks about a lot, just considering the art of the possible. And what she means by that is being able to start a conversation with a company, hand it off to a project manager, working with our team, bring them to our permitting agencies to basically get it set up for success.
Considering the art of the possible. I love that. And it ties directly into Louisiana's all of the above strategy to expand its energy industry.
It absolutely does. And that's our goal at the end of the day. And it's a mission that we take very seriously. And it's one that as we start to lean in on how we're going to set the state up for success, thinking about strategic plans, working with our legislator, working with our governor to ensure that our industry continues to remain a force.
Can you elaborate on this strategy and how it supports a stronger, more resilient, and secure energy supply?
When we think of all of the above energy strategy, it tends to just show that we've got this wonderful industry that has been going on for many years, which is our traditional oil and gas industry. But it's also being supported by some new innovative developments. And we've got a long history of producing petroleum products in our state. So we've had a wonderful history of drilling for oil and gas. We've got a burgeoning industry in North Louisiana with our Haynesville Shale, this wonderful transportation network with pipelines and moving products from point A to point B. But we've also started to see that these new and emerging energy sectors can directly support our traditional oil and gas sectors. And when we start to look at these fuel sources, we took a very aggressive stance to say, how can we get more involved in things like carbon capture, hydrogen, potentially geothermal, solar, offshore wind, nuclear? So when we say all of the above, it's something that I think that you start to look at trying to ensure that our long-term energy profile stays multifaceted. The world is going to continue to demand energy. We're seeing tremendous growth in energy usage. As Louisiana leans in, having and making sure that we have good policies that support that is extremely important.
Let's talk about how the state is leaning into the ideas and the innovation that you've mined over the past 6 to 7 years. Tell us, how does the state balance traditional energy sources with expanding energy opportunities? You touched on some. Let's talk about hydrogen and carbon capture.
One of the things that's most exciting is that those things can be very complementary. What I mean by that is that we've been producing hydrogen in the state of Louisiana for a very long time. So most of the hydrogen that's being produced is being created by using natural gas as a feedstock and basically going through a steam methane refining process and producing hydrogen. We have one of the only hydrogen pipelines that runs from Mississippi to Texas. So we produce a lot of the hydrogen that is manufactured not only in the United States, but is also used, throughout the world. Carbon capture is something that we've been working on for a number of years. The state's taken a very active role in the permitting process. Our Department of Energy and Natural Resources now has regulatory primacy for the regulation of Class 6 carbon dioxide wells, something that really sets the state apart. There are only 2 other states in the United States that have that regulatory primacy, and we're seeing the fruits of those labors. So right now, we're looking at probably about 26 projects, have over 65 well applications that are going through the injection and mining division at Department of Energy and Natural Resources. That staff is growing, the expertise is growing. They're hiring a lot of young engineers and scientists that are very excited about working in that industry. We see these things as tremendous complementary features when we're looking at, again, that all of the above strategy. And I think that CCUS and hydrogen's production will continue to be a major factor as we start to move forward.
Let's talk about jobs. With Louisiana Economic Development, what are some of the numbers that you can tell us about the impact of energy on jobs in Louisiana?
To looking at how important our energy sector is to the overall economy health, the overwhelming impact is astounding. And you start to look at some of the numbers. I mean, this industry, from the traditional oil and gas and our new industry, supports about 350,000 total jobs. So that's about 90,000 direct jobs, 250,000 indirect, or 13.1% of Louisiana's total employment. So staggering numbers when you look at the overall economic health. I mean, this industry is driving growth. We also generate about 2.8 jobs elsewhere in Louisiana's economy for every direct job the state's natural gas and oil industry have, and have about $26 billion in labor income. So this is an industry that contributes directly to our GDP. It's extremely important for LED, and you'll see Secretary Bourgeois and others talk about moving at the speed of business, working on job retention, ensuring that we're supporting not only the businesses and the industry that we have now, but trying to attract new industry that complements these industries.
So this all of the above strategy brings more jobs to the state. What is the economic impact of expanding the energy industry in Louisiana?
This industry contributes about $54.3 billion to Louisiana's total gross domestic product. So $29.2 billion direct and about $25.1 indirect. So 21% of the state's total. I mean, those are staggering numbers. The energy industry in our state is one that has really continued to support this total build out of our entire economy.
How does the energy industry and the energy sector continue to create these new opportunities and provide economic stability in Louisiana?
One of the things that's so exciting for us and having a governor whose leadership is very pro-energy and just having this wonderful oil and gas sector is that we're setting ourselves up for this all of the above challenge of bringing in and supporting industries where each one of them plays a major role in how we lean forward in the future. In the next 5, 10, 15, and 20 years, where do we want to go? What industries do we really need to focus on in innovation? How do we protect the existing jobs that we do have? Just because we have a lot of jobs and the numbers that we mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that those jobs not only stay and that it continues to grow.
We're excited to have you on to talk about it. Jason Lanclos, the State Energy Development and Planning Director. Thank you for joining us on Making Energy.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Next on Making Energy.
Louisiana produced more than 4 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in 2023, which is a little more than 10% of all U.S. production.
From state leaders to local communities.
We are the environmental leader. We are the safety leader when it comes to what we do and how we work with oil and gas.
That's episode 4, Building on Louisiana's Energy Legacy.